So, first of all, I would like to point out that Jung was a Fed. Jung was OSS Agent 488. The OSS was the predecessor of the CIA. In fact, Jung's handler, the one he directly reported to, later went on to become the director of the CIA. Now, the implications here are clear. Feds are sus. Jung was a Fed. Therefore, Jung is sus. Now, I'm not saying all Jung's work is bullshit. The actual implication here, what this means, is that secret services that are all caught up in the conspiracy is aware of Jung's work. And I would actually argue that they have put his work to work more than anyone else. Now, I would say that Galahad put Jung's work to use more than anyone else. But the historical fact of the matter is that the Jungian philosophy does not lead people to Christ. The Jungian philosophy, at best, makes people sympathetic to Gnosticism, which in many cases just sees Christ as like a Buddha. If you look at Jung to Live By, Thoughts on Thinking, Uber Boyo, Eternalized, all the very popular super Jungian thinking fellas in the community, none of them are Christian. Like, not even like, borderline. They all think that Christ, that what happened with Christ, that Christianity was essentially a personality cult and Christ got projected on with a bunch of this stuff and whatever. That's just the historical fact of the matter. And a large portion of that, as evident in Jung being a connection to the Fed, is due to parasitic divergence.
But let's not play pretend here and act like Jung's work wasn't ripe to be taken advantage of in this way. Like, when you get deep enough into Jung's work, is it really so much of a misunderstanding to think that he or that philosophy doesn't want you to be Christian? I got so into it for years. I refer to myself as an Owinian. It sees the self as God. And like I even see within our own community, in our little glossary document that we have, under self, the word self, somebody filled that in and defined it as like perfection incarnate, the ideal which people strive for, Jesus Christ. That's not the self. That's not you, dude. Like, where does Jung confess that Christ is Lord and that he has come in the flesh? Like, I can see that he considered himself a Christian, but but I mean, come on, it's not like he made that very explicit. And don't give me the excuse that a chemist doesn't need to profess his belief in Christ in his research paper, as if Jung's work didn't directly pertain to spirituality and theology. Like, there's a quote I see where he says, "The point of Jesus' life was not that we should become like him, but that we should become ourselves in the same way he became himself." Like, it's very kind of like Aryan adoptionist sort of situation, which if you believe that Christ is anything along those lines, then you do not believe in Christ. So let's not play games here. Like, Jung's work was ripe to be taken advantage of in this way. Not to mention that the point of his life here on Earth was to unify God and man. Being Jungian is fucking retarded. You should be Christian.
Parasitic divergence. The Feds basically taking advantage of Jung's work and directing it towards their scheme. Let me tell you something about their scheme. The one world government comes second. What they want is a one world religion, which we are witnessing the birth of between Roman Catholicism and the New Age shit. They're particularly interested in Roman Catholicism because not only is the Catholic Church a religion, but it's also a government. The Vatican is its own independent city-state, nation, whatever. And I don't think I have to explain the connections between Jungian thought and the New Age philosophy. So let's not play games here, all right, and pretend that Jung is like the second coming, because his work, historically, in practice, has detracted from Christianity. Now, it's interesting because then Jung also becomes a doorway into Christianity, because the feds used him as a means to further deconstruct the religion, but then that leaves a sort of trail of breadcrumbs where you can sort of reverse engineer that if you get into Jung, and then you end up Christian. But that is an exception to the rule. The rule is that Jungianity, Christianity, Jungianity, that Jungianity has become a replacement or for Christianity, or more appropriately said, it's become its own religion, where Jung is the great sage like Lao Tzu. And another point extremely sus about Jung is if you look at his work in Ion, he splits the two fish between Christ and Antichrist, basically claiming that the Antichrist is like the shadow of Christianity, or Christ himself even, and that they need to be integrated, and we need to find the middle path, so to speak, between Christ and Antichrist. Is that not fucking stupid? Or is it just me? Now, me saying all this is kind of inappropriate, because if it wasn't for Jung, I probably would not be Christian. Now, maybe to apply a little Jungian psychology here and try to take a crack at what could be happening beneath the surface of my own mind and my whatever true motivations I might have. I'm an Orthodox Christian. And so Jung being all on his Gnostic shit, I'm just trying to bring this up to slander the guy. Right? That must be it. The fact that I sound like a dick definitely in no way has anything to do with your shadow. Right? It's all me. There's no way that you are just suffering from transference and borderline idolatry with this guy. And so anything that sounds remotely critical of him is going to come across like being a dick. Part of this is motivated by trying to dismantle Gnosticism and direct people towards orthodoxy. But it's also like, have y'all seen the fucking rest of my channel? Have you heard my story? I fucking slop on Jung's dick for fucking breakfast, lunch, and dinner, okay? But this video it's a lot like a video I did in the past titled Nietzsche Will Not Save Us. If you guys don't think you're suffering from transference when it comes to Jung, you're fucking kidding yourselves. Or I shouldn't say you guys, we are suffering here, okay? And I feel like I'm the only one willing to talk about it. And it's frustrating. Because I bring this up, and then this is what I hear. Oh, not all feds are bad. You wouldn't say that if this was anyone else. You only start making excuses for feds when you find out that Jung was one of them. Which shouldn't be surprising, given that the vast majority of the application of his work has gone towards dismantling and replacing Christianity in the effort to create the one world religion, which is all syncretic and, breaks down religion, deconstructs all religion, basically. Like, come on, guys. And then I hear like, oh, he was an ally in World War II. That's what was going on there. He was an ally. Hitler bad. Come on, guys. Oh, I'm sorry, but not even gonna get into it. I'm not like I've said enough to piss you guys off. Now I'm not gonna fucking make myself out to be a Nazi sympathetic on top of that. Anyways, Jung was a genius. Ion was a massive contribution. And all it needed was a slight reframe, which suggests that Jung really only suffered from a confusion of terms, which is rooted in his own poor Christology, right? Jung was a genius. He was a madman, but like in a good and cool way. But he's not a saint. I hear that he was a Fed, that he committed adultery, and the list goes on. And I take that in stride, and it gives me a more complete picture of who he is and makes him more relatable as an actual human being. And it doesn't make me think that Jung was in on the conspiracy and that he was Israel's number one guy and that he like was consciously doing his whole thing to fucking deconstruct Christianity, whatever. But then you guys hear it and you tweak out, which suggests to me that you actually don't have the proper respect for the man and that you're too caught up in your idea, in your conception of who you think he is or who you think he should be, to take this fact in stride that Jung was a Fed. And unless you don't think Feds are sus, you have to come to the conclusion that Jung's at least a little sus. Come on. Is it so outlandish? What if I said we're all sus? What if I said we're all in on it? Because that's the fact of the matter. We're all a little sussy. Come on now. I got my fucking problems. I'm sus. I'm in on it. I'm a fucking Thanatoid, bro. I'm here to fucking take your ass and drag you into the fucking maze and make you forget all about Christ and God and, you know, I'm trying to kill you, bruh. I'm fucked up. We all are. But then once I take that fact that you would so readily agree on, and I say, oh, so then this would apply to Jung. This would apply to Jung as well. And I think that the fact that he was a Fed is probably relevant here. Fuck you, man. Give me a second to run through it all again. Let's see. OSS Agent 488. OSS was the precursor to CIA. CIA is sus. Feds are sus. I don't think I even need to really get into that. Therefore, Jung is sus. And then all the caveats. Jung's still cool though. It's not like he was consciously in on it. It's not that deep. But we gotta take this fact in stride here. We can't just pretend like it's totally trivial and means nothing that Jung was a fucking Fed. Then I'm annoyed because all the walls immediately go up and instantly all I'm faced with are defense mechanisms, which is exactly what I expected as a Jungian psychologist, because the people who I share this with are suffering from transference. And even though they all slop on Jung just as much as I do, they seem to think that his psychological system does not apply to them. And then there are theological implications when it comes to idolatry of the man as well, and the fact that he just had totally off Christology. And then we can get into the details, into the weeds of the specific sussy things. Specifically, the application of Jungianity. Because Jungianity, historically in application, is used more than anyone by the powers that be, the dark forces in high places, to replace and deconstruct Christianity in the aim of creating their New World religion, which will be the underpinning of their New World government, or One World government, whatever. Because they're inspired by the Roman Church, which they've also heavily infiltrated. That's a conversation for another time, which is both religion and state. There will be no more separation of church and state in the New World Order, because the church will be totally co-opted by hyper-Gnostic, syncretic, New Age, fucking gay, lesbian, trans, black, fucking type niggas. And it's not as simple as just saying, oh, he was an ally in World War II, swipe it under the rug, as if World War II was just good guys versus bad guys. Don't be putting shit in your shadow. Don't be saying, oh, Hitler and shit, totally irredeemable evil, right? And then the Allies, oh, totally good guys. It's not that fucking simple. If you're a Jungian, you should fucking know that. Don't play this game and fucking put that shit in your shadow. Anyways. Yeah, okay, I think I made all the points. I don't think I need to go any further to know at this point that I've said everything that I wanted to say. So that was kind of all over the place. But, yeah, man. I don't mean to be so hostile. I don't mean to be so defensive. Like I said, I suck on Jung too. We're a team, you and I. This is something we gotta work through. It's not you and me. I'm not the fucking smart guy who is able to be critical of people and you guys are all idolaters and shit. As much as I try to make it out that way, that's not the case. We're all sucking on this guy. I guess what's upsetting is that this is my only talent, you know? This is the only thing I'm good at, is criticizing niggas. And I actually appreciate that and thank God for that. But it's a tricky talent to have taste, and to be able to criticize. Because the same thing went over with the Nietzsche video that I made. It's just all hate. Niggas do not want to hear about how their idols are not God. And it's frustrating for me because that's basically the only thing I know how to do. And so I'm constantly met with fucking hate on this shit. Whatever. Now I'm actually over this. I've been recording for over 30 minutes and I'm hungry. So stay safe and be well, y'all. Peace out.